Welcome to this video. This is part of our series that is focused on helping you understand and calibrate to tasting at the WSET Level 3 wines format. And what we've done is put together a series of blind tastings that would typically be offered in our workshops. And it gives you the ability to go through this video, follow the tasting notes that I'm about to give you, and then hopefully make a little bit of determination on the type of wine that I might have. What I will do is actually reveal the wine at the end of the video. I'll give you a chance to pause so that you can kind of consolidate your notes and whatnot, and then understand what the wine is from my tasting notes. So let's get started. In this particular video, I am focusing on a white wine that is in my glass here, and just kind of running down the tasting grid. It is clear, not something you would need to note on the examination, but in the tasting notes, we do kind of look at that in case there's something that might be a little bit hazy, but clear. This wine to me has a medium intensity on the appearance, and it is showing a lemon color. So hopefully that comes through in the video a little bit, but medium with lemon. There's no real other factors here, such as gas or anything like that. So we're going to move on to the nose. In the nose, wine is clean. My intensity level here is medium. I don't get a big abundance of aromatics coming out of the glass, but it doesn't take a lot to kind of actually get into this. So I'm kind of placing it right in the middle of the scale of things that I would kind of consider to be on an intensity level. So medium. And I always want to caution my students to make sure that they don't forget the development level, because this is something that's very critical on their examination. This particular wine to me has a youthful appearance to it on the nose, and so my development call is going to be youthful, because I really just get a lot of primary flavors. I'm not really getting any secondary, as we'll talk about in just a sec, but or certainly any tertiary. So youthful, fresh, and kind of at the beginning of its life cycle. So what are those aroma characteristics? So for me, it's kind of a fresh and airy wine. I'm getting a lot of floral kind of components, such as blossom, almost like an orange blossom. In the green fruits categories, I do definitely get like a green apple, pear skin, maybe even a little bit of quince. If you're not familiar with that, it's kind of related to a pear, but it has a little bit more of a earthy kind of concentrated pear kind of quality to it. In the citrus, I get some lemon, lemon skin. It's kind of got this sort of vibrant undertone of lemon, and then I do get some stone fruit. For me, I'm picking up peach and even a little nectarine, so slightly ripe peach and leaning into that nectarine kind of quality, where before I talked about the orange blossom, so it kind of fits together. And there's even a little edge of tropical kind of quality going on here. So for me, I get a little bit of maybe lychee or green melon coming through, and overriding all of this, I get this sort of sense of wet stone. So for me, that kind of takes the place of like a mineral call, because wet stones are fairly specific. Like I kind of picture wet slate, like a slate patio or something like that. Maybe in the summertime after it's rain, you get that kind of just sense of a mineral quality, but it's related to that freshness of the water evaporating off of a wet stone. So for me, there's a lot of that in this wine. It has a lot of that kind of freshness mixed with that slight tropical citrus green fruit kind of thing going on. So fairly complex, good amount of aromatic descriptors there. Moving on to the palate, let's give it a taste. So this is the part where some folks might get hung up, because I find that this wine is fairly dry, but there's a fairly high level of acidity here, and I think that acidity sort of covers a little bit of sweetness. I don't think there's a lot of sweetness here, so I could see some students maybe picking this wine as being off dry. It has a kind of a glycerous quality, but at the end of the day, my mouth is cleaned out. And I think that's from both the fact that there's not a lot of residual sugar and there's a pretty high level of acidity. So my palate call is going to be dry. Acidity is medium plus, maybe even high on this wine. So as a grading, I probably give the students the benefit of the doubt and put this up at high. So pretty intense as far as the acidity goes. It's making my mouth water, makes it a little bit challenging to talk. Alcohol, very moderate. I think I'm still in the medium category here, but probably a little bit on the lower side of that. And because I don't get any burn, I don't get any cooling sensation, but I don't think it's a lower alcohol wine. On the body, I'm calling medium. It's got that cleanness and that refreshing quality from the acidity that kind of kind of streamlines the wine on my palate, but I do have a presence and a kind of nice weight, but it's not really overwhelming. So medium is definitely my call here. Flavor intensity on the palate, again, I'm kind of sticking with that medium. It's right down the middle of the road. I get good flavors, but they're just not overwhelming me. So right down the middle with medium. And my finish, again, discernible fruit flavors are lingering for a little bit, but they're not overwhelming. So I'm gonna call this as medium as well. So medium, medium, medium on body, flavor, intensity, and finish. On the palate, my flavor calls are going to be fairly similar. I get a little bit more of that white peach, slight melon kind of quality on the palate, but definitely the echoes of the orange blossom, the green apple, things like that are coming through quite well. So when I go down to our conclusion and our assessment of quality, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna think about my balance, my length, my intensity, and my complexity. So for balance, I think everything actually works pretty well here. I'm gonna give it a pretty good check for that, because even though there's a little bit higher acidity, the acidity kind of carries all of the other flavors. It carries the wine along pretty nicely. And so giving it a full check on balance, because all of this seems to work together really well. Length, not too long. I'm going to give it maybe a half or 2/3 kind of check on that, because I was only in the medium camp, but the flavors are nice and they are kind of well defined. They just don't linger too long. Intensity, both on my nose and on the palate, my intensity call was really for something more in the medium side of the scale, and so I don't have the ability to give it a full check on intensity, although the flavors are nice. I do like them from a lingering and a composition point of view within the wine. They all worked well together. And complexity, I think I'm going to give it a pretty good mark for complexity, because this wine actually, I did name a whole bunch of different descriptors, and I think they all work pretty well together, and they build towards a really nice kind of style of wine that I'm pretty pleased with, and I think would work for most people. So I think I'm going to give this actually a very good call, because when I add up my marks or my checks for balance and complexity, I'm giving them full checks, and I'm giving it, slightly above medium for both the intensity and the length. So this wine shows well, and I have a pretty good argument for calling it as a very good wine. Now, as far as whether or not I think this wine is suitable for aging, I think the appeal in this wine is its freshness, its youthfulness, its fruit quality that is really apparent now. There's no oak aging, there's no tertiary here. Obviously, this is a relatively young wine, and it is just kind of vibrant, and I think I like it because of that. So good complexity and everything. I don't think this is a wine that I'm really going to want to come back to after giving it a chance to cellar for a few years. I don't think it's really going to improve. It might be around. I think there's good acidity here that's going to carry this wine, but it's not something that I really want to maybe stick in the cellar. I want to enjoy it now, and I think a producer or a wine style like this is going to be made, pretty consistently year in and year out. So I think right now my call is going to be drink now and not suitable for aging. That's how I would grade it on the paper. All right, so consolidate your notes, give it a second. I'm going to hit pause, and then we'll come back and we'll reveal the wine. All right, so time to reveal the identity of this wine. This is a very fresh, very youthful, very well-balanced wine, and it has a lot of hallmarks for this grape variety that I think hopefully maybe have clued you in a little bit. I think the white peach, the nectarine, and the high acidity. Remember, there's only a handful of grapes out there that really are going to exhibit really high acid levels, things like Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Chenin, and of course there's a few others, but in the main grouping categories, those are our high aromatic or high acid wines. As far as aromatics goes, this wine has a lot of aromatics, but it's really kind of focused more around citrus and melon and peach, rather than say like Sauvignon Blanc, which is probably going to have a little bit more of that, depending on where it comes from, more of the tropical and maybe even herbaceous kind of quality. So we're going to kind of push Sauvignon Blanc aside, and so that leaves us maybe with Riesling and Chenin, and in fact this wine is a Riesling. So this is from the producer known as, the family producer known as Selbach, and they are located in the Mosel, and this is their Riesling, which they qualify as under the incline designation. That's just their proprietary name for this wine, so it's Selbach Riesling, and they even go so far as to put on the label dry. So they want to give you a clue right off the bat that this is a drier style Riesling. Most people who see this tall green bottle are going to kind of maybe assume that the wine's going to be a little sweet. It's certainly fruity, but remember, when we taste wines, Sweetness is something that we feel in the palate. It's not something we smell. This is a wine that exhibits really well-balanced kind of style because of that acidity that's natural in the Riesling, but actually ends up delivering a fairly dry wine. I do like to point out it is 12% alcohol on the label, so right at sort of the lower end of the medium scale, and a really well-balanced wine that I think would pair well with a lot of different kinds of food, not going to hit you with a big alcohol kind of impact, and so yeah, I think a pretty good bargain for. I call it a very good wine, and I know this wine doesn't cost a whole lot. So hopefully you got to the same conclusion. If you get a chance to write a tasting note or taste this, or wines that are similar to this, this is Selbach Riesling from the Mosel in Germany, and it is their Riesling Incline 2021. All right, cheers.